the reality of the difference in men and women. And the reality is when we start talking about the difference in men and women in regards to their roles and their needs, you have to understand that we're not attaching quality to it. We're not attaching like better or worse to it. This is what the beautiful concept of the Trinity is. If you look at Christianity, if you're exploring Christianity, the concept of the Trinity is that you have different people within the Trinitarian Godhead, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. They're eternally one, eternally distinct, but they're all equal. All right, meaning there's just a function difference. And so when we start talking about men function like this and have this role, women function like this and have this role, it's not about equality or inequality. It's left and right hand, just different functions. The Son of God is not less than the Father. He's not less God because he plays the role of the Son. The Father plans salvation, the Son accomplishes salvation, and the Spirit applies salvation. Different roles, but they're all equal. Right? They're all equally God, fully God. One God, three persons, all fully God, not one less than the other. It's just functionality. So as we talk about men and women and their different functions, understand that that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about a difference in their quality. Now, when we look at all of the differences, even physically between men and women, we have to understand that this extends out to their different roles in the world. Now, the conflict arises when we start to push against the differences and start to put equality to them and say, well, you're different, ergo you're wrong, or your difference actually doesn't make sense. That's when the conflict starts to arise. We have to understand. Have you ever sat in your marriage and asked God why in the world he did it like this? Why would he create two people almost opposites? Women function in regard to this way with communication and conflict and sexuality, and then you're sitting there and you go this way, and have you ever said, I go, why would he do this? Is he mocking us? Is he sitting in heaven looking down, laughing? Is this entertainment for him, taking two people opposites and putting them together, going, this is marriage, this is marriage. And you go, why would you do it like this, though? Why would my mind be, this is what they say about the male brain when it's being developed in utero, is actually 2.5 times bigger in regard to its sexual sphere than a woman's. All right? Why would you do that? Why not just make them the same? And then they both want sex at the same level all the time. Rather than going, hey, I'm going to make his 2.5 times more than hers so that they can fight. It's what's the logic? Understand. Have you ever said, I go, why? And then I started thinking about this. One of the reasons why that actually makes a lot of sense to me is because, think about it, when God puts men and women in the garden, he makes man, woman, Adam and Eve, and he says, in my image, he created the male and female, all right? Meaning that a male by himself does not capture the image of God to the world. A female by herself does not capture the image of God to the world. What does is when these two genders come together in the context of marriage and God says, listen, here's your job to go out into the world and reflect the glory of God, because the point of your marriage is not to become happy but holy, meaning the will of God for your life, according to Romans 8, is that you be conformed to the image of his Son, that you become more like God. And marriage is this beautiful place of sanctification. When you get put together with a wife or a husband, and you're constantly bashing heads, grinding up against each other, always like opposites. The beautiful thing is in that moment, you're actually being formed into the image of God more and more and more. And here's what I mean. Without being married to Aaron, so Aaron and I have almost been married 15 years. We dated 5 years before that, so we've been together almost 20 years. Before I knew Aaron, I would function in a way that I knew. As a man, I would function in the way that I would react to certain things, think a certain way, live my life in a particular way. But only since being married can I start to almost predict the way that she as a woman would deal with this. How would she think about this? How would she speak to this? How would she deal with this? And that has actually made me more holistic, more like literally in counseling scenarios, I'll have guys come in and they'll be hitting porn or cheating on their wife, and me, just by myself, I just want to look at them and go, dude, pull up your pants, stop beating off. You got a world out there that needs Jesus. Stop wasting time. Get a life and be a man. That's what I want to do. And then I hear, what would Aaron do? And I end up saying something more like this. Can I pray for you, bro? And do you want any tea? Right? Now, that's probably better than if I was just left to myself. Why? Because in that moment, it's not that I'm becoming more feminine. Listen, it's that I'm becoming more like God. Because you can't capture the godness without the male-woman idea. So you as men know, you start to see your world through her eyes. You start to react different, think different. You become different. Your portfolio is permanently expanded, but you're still you. That's the beautiful part of marriage.